So, what is this we're looking at? It's a disaster. As you can see, if we continue business as usual, this is the way that we're going down. And as Sir Richard Attenborough already mentioned, in future we have to tell our grandchildren how an elephant looks like by showing them a photograph, because there is no elephant living anymore. And this is what you can see here. If business as usual is if there's no turnaround. This is not something that I invented. It's some international study from Applied Systems Analysis. Because between 1970 and 2020, 68% of the species diversity on Earth has disappeared. And this is something what the World Wildlife Fund has stated. And every day, when business as usual, 200 species die away. So the loss of biodiversity is enormous. And it costs the world economy around $5 billion a year. This is something the Boston Consultancy Group has found out. And as fashion industry, and we are part of that, we're the second most polluting. I'm not proud of saying that, but we are responsible of 10% of the yearly loss of the biodiversity. And we are responsible for 20% of the water pollution and the use of water. And if garment consumption continues, and that's also something that the Boston Consultancy Group has stated, the water consumption will, till 2030, the garment consumption will grow by 63%, which means that the water consumption will increase by 50%. The CO2 emission will increase by 63%, the use of chemicals by 49%, and the waste in general is 62%. Because as you may know, 30% of the garments that come into the market are never worn. They sometimes don't even get out of the packing. So the best solution is that we wear garments 3 years longer. But then, of course, there is some, well, let's call it countervailing powers. It's the economy, it's the society, which you can see here, economy, society, and the social infrastructure, the economy, the society, environment, in the middle, the sustainable infrastructure. But this struggles together because society has some wishes, environment has wishes, economy has wishes. And the evolution that we see now is much too slow. As a matter of fact, we need a revolution. And this revolution includes the consumer, the retailer, the wholesaler, and the producer. All people have to work together because we need a real change in thinking to get any effect. In 1999, there was in Holland a big research about people thinking, are you leaving the world behind better than what you got from your parents? 80% at that time thought that the world they would leave behind would be better. Now, at this moment, it's not even 20%. And Simon Kucher had made a big research on 10,000 companies worldwide. And the conclusion is that if companies don't change to sustainability, there will be no future for them. And it all starts with design. And this is the golden circle from Simon Sinek. Most people start in designing with a what. What do I want to make? But you have to start with a why. Why do I want to make something? How am I going to make it? And in the end is, what am I going to make? And it's a choice between slow and sustainable versus fast and wasteful. And our most used fabrics in garments is cotton and polyester. And most people say, oh, cotton is a natural product. But honestly speaking, for 1 kg of cotton, you need 1 liter of chemicals. So what's natural about it if you know that 1 liter, 1 kilo is the same? And even if we use the bio-cotton, you still need the water and land. And the water you need for 1 kg of cotton is 10,000 liters. You know how much you need for 1 kg of tomatoes? 4 liters. Polyester, of course, also has a disadvantage. It's not biodegradable, but it's easy to recycle. So it's a choice you have to make. What kind of fabrics are we going to use? And especially in designing, you have to think arable, I always say, which is either you have to rethink, you start rethink, sorry, and in rethinking is, can we reduce something? Can we refuse something? Can we repair? Can we recover? And most important, can we also recycle? It's a life cycle assessment that you have to make, and including the social part. So it's a social life cycle assessment that have to be made for every product that we put on the market. And for every designer, I would say, please do not try to be exclusive, but make it inclusive, make it affordable, so that it can get some volume, because with volume, you can make a change. And to have a balanced human ecosystem, we need the people, planet, prosperity, and partnerships to unite, because these are the pillars that we're building on. And if you start production, you really have to make a risk analysis. You really have to look what kind of product do I want to make, what materials do I need it, where can I produce it, what is my business model that I'm going to use. If you have this in line, you can make a product that is responsible. And there's multi-stakeholders involved in this process. Single measures and actions have no effect. It should be a holistic enterprise. And in the end, what will happen is that there is, what is needed, I must say, is a mix of legislation, of economic incentives, of funding, education, and communication. And last part is the most important, because we have to make a change in the mindset of people, and that's always very difficult. But if we want to make sustainable progress, in your firm, it's the employees, the suppliers, the customers, all involved. But if we want to work on innovation, on collaborative power, on co-creation and the knowledge sharing, it's something that has to bring us together, and in this way, we can have the sustainability progress. But it's a cooperation, it's something we have to do together. And I tell you our story from FashionPower, because we have put our why we want to do the things we do, because we care for people and planet. And that is why we want to make our products sustainable, comfortable, and affordable. And we want to make it in partnerships. Because, as mentioned before, the garment industry, the second most polluting of the world. 20% of all the polluted water comes from the garment industry. And that is why we started using dope dye technique. Because in dope dye, if you use that, you add the color by heating, not by water. It then saves 60% of water, 60% energy, chemicals, and CO2 output. If you compare it to cotton, it's even 90% in water that you save. And if we cannot use the dope dye, then we want to work as per ZDHC regulations, which means that the water has to be cleaned in the factory itself. So it cannot leave the factory. I mean, in the past, when I went to a factory, I could see from distance already what color they were making, because all the water that you saw in the little rivers was the color that was coming from the factory. It was red or blue or whatever. And a very important step we make sportswear. For sportswear, you need to make functionality. You need to make them functional. So the functionality is the comfort that is needed for the sportswear. This we used to do with chemicals. And now we phased out 100% the chemicals, or 95%, by adding the coffee residue, which we make into carbon, and this carbon is used to get the functionality. So it's an important step. Now, what I mentioned already, the polyester, of course, is made from fossil sources. And during its whole value chain, it creates pollution. And this is what we don't want. So the best way to organize that is that we work on a circular system. And now we start making our garments recyclable, so that later they can easily be recycled, so that we don't need the fossil sources anymore, and we can reduce the CO2 output and also reduce the use of water. And we also use the polyester because we made the choice not to use cotton. And the reason why, I explained already. even with bio-cotton, you still need big amount of water and the extra land, because bio-cotton you only get by changing the land where you produce it. But after you made cotton, you cannot use the ground or the land for many years. So it's really a waste in the world of today. Another thing we introduced is the padding of jackets. Normally you use polyester or duck or goose down, but we found Sorona as the solution. Sorona has the same lightweight and also the same isolation as duck down or goose down has. But you don't need the animals to be, let's say, normally under their wings. This feather or this down is just plucked, is taken out, and it's very harmful for the animals. And of course, by using the Sorona, because Sorona is the waste of a plant, we also use a waste stream, which is normally just thrown away. Sorry. In our story, it's also important the people working for us. We want them to work under good conditions and good circumstances. And that is why we chose for the partnerships, because only if you have partnerships with companies, with factories, you can work on an improvement, on a better way of working, trying to do better every day. And cooperation for us is the key for the better world. Because if we don't have this long-term cooperation, nobody will invest. They all are looking for something that pays them back one way or another. So our idea that we should make sustainability affordable for everybody. We are not exclusive, but we are inclusive. We care for all sizes, and we care for the price, and we offer the best value for money. A better world for a good price. This is our sustainability report that we just offered to Linda Kromjong, the president of Amfori. It's something that we made for the first time. You can see it on our website if you want to read the full 52 pages. But the idea is, where is FashionPower, and what are we doing, especially at the sustainability idea. We have 3 offices in Netherlands, Germany, and China. And we have 23 countries where we sell our products. And there's 40 ambassadors in FashionPower who are working. They are the ambassadors for our sustainability program. And we got 22 partners in tier 2 and 3. That's the fabric making and also the yarn. And in peak season, there is 2,000 people working on our products. 41 factories are working on our sustainable products, together with 11 partners on the social performance. This is our value chain, which you can see. We start with the yarn, then you have the knitting, then you have the dyeing. From the dyeing, that of course is not needed in the dope dye process, but still in a part we have this dyeing process. You have the cutting, making, and trimming. You have the packing. And when everything is packed, it goes in a container. The container goes on the boat and comes in our warehouse. And from our warehouse, we deliver to the retail. And the retail, of course, delivers to the customers. Well, our key achievements in 2021, we have a growth of 680% in the dope dye, which means that we saved around 23 million liters of water. We have 67 tons of dye stuff, which we didn't need because we used the dope dye technique. And altogether we have 2.2 million products with circular elements for function. So that's a good step we made. And 100% of our products are audited on social compliance. And 73% of all products were made with sustainable materials. 62 tons of chemicals were phased out. That is the chemicals that we used to make the functionality by what we call the CCB. So it's the coconut shell, it's the coffee residue, and it's the bamboo that we add in order to get functionality. Altogether, we made 608,000 garments with recycled or upcycled material. And upcycled material I call something like we do with the coffee. It's the coffee residue, it's the waste, which is used to bring function to garments. So it's not a recycling, it's an upcycling. You make it better. You give it a better way of using. There's 15 tons of Serona padding that we used instead of the down padding, which we normally should have used. And last year we also passed for the global recycling standard. So that's a good step that we made. 16% of our volume grows by the sustainable products. Because we offer the sustainable products, we now see a grow, which didn't come from the start, I can tell you, because 15 years ago when we started, everybody said, oh, very nice, very nice. But we don't buy it because we do what we do. And then we get what we got. Now there's a little change, so it's our advantage. Altogether, we have 758,000 tons of CO2 phased out by using the recycled polyester already. And in these programs, because for instance, the coffee material now we buy from Taiwan, and we are trying here in Chilabs to see if this production can be made in Europe in future. And the same thing for the recycling. This is also something now is being done in China, but the garments, of course, are in Europe. So it's a big step if we can collect all the goods here in Netherlands or Germany, and then bring it back to pellets, and these pellets can be used for the production of polyester. So that's a big step where we are working on with Symphony in future, we hope. If it's impossible, I started with a disaster, so if a disaster, you should also take action to see that it doesn't happen. And I think we can make a change, but it will need a lot of efforts, and it will need a lot of partners to invest, which is not easy in this time. I mean, we just finished Corona, so not everybody's really waiting to invest, but it needs an investment, because otherwise we will face the disaster. And in our idea, you should feel responsible and act sustainable. Thank you.